Protect thy neighbor. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Exodus 20, verse 16. If there is one commandment pushed to the front of popular culture during an election cycle, it is God's prohibition on tarnishing someone's reputation. Every day we are subjected to deliberately crafted half-truths and misrepresentations about candidates, and typically before the election is finished we find ourselves disgusted by it. If we are honest, however, we would have to admit that we are also guilty. All of us have mishandled people's reputations or delighted in repeating stories that can cast people in poor light. Personally, I've always taken Exodus 20, verse 16 to mean strictly in the legal sense, as in the law, not necessarily in everyday life, but they don't necessarily preclude the other. But that's just my personal issue, not necessarily generally speaking. But this is not a trifling matter. The one thing everybody owns, you, me, your neighbor, your spouse, the one thing everybody owns, regardless of material wealth, is his or her reputation. Your reputation survives your possessions, continuing even after financial ruin. Reputation survives even death. But at that point, does it really matter? Which becomes the one thing you truly leave behind when you die. Your possessions will quickly be distributed to others, but your good name, or your bad name, will always be with you. Even the poorest among us can be wealthy when it comes to the matter of character. When we deface that character by creating or repeating falsehoods, we are taking away their most valuable possession. In that regard, the commandment against bearing false witness is related to the commandment against theft. It is also related to the commandment against murder, because to defame other people is to chip away their quality of life, diminishing the joy they find during their brief time on this planet. I remember sitting with an elderly man who had been the victim of the rumor mill, accused of something he certainly had not done. The tears rolled down his cheeks as he described the pain of having his reputation so carefully guarded, his whole life ruined in a matter of days. Again, not in the same context, but in a similar sense, what do they say about a business? You can build it up in a lifetime and destroy it almost instantly. Again, contexts are different, but it happens. Although one is worse than the other, you could argue. It's like cutting open a pillow in the wind, he said. Even when the person who did this admits he lied. Yeah, I was wrong. I did that. And I'm sorry. Even in that situation, they admitted it. You can never get all the feathers back in the pillow. When you consider the example of Christ, diminishing the worth of another becomes a no-go for the Christian. He considered himself of no reputation, so that he could, in spite of our sinful past, one day consider us to be kings and priests in his kingdom. Our role on this side of glory is to consider others as better than ourselves and protect our neighbors the way God has protected us. That's the hard part of love thy neighbor as thyself.